you briefly mentioned Trump coming in and how that might affect. And I always remember maybe in his first term, I saw some headline where he was even criticizing the World Bank for carrying on lending to China. And he
Yes,
asked the World Bank, but I think the World Bank still continued on with it. But I want to ask you, so there have been a lot of trends with Trump of him talking about focusing on the US and kind of stopping international
yes.
aid. And with America being such a strong leader in the World Bank, how do you see this affecting the World Bank?
That's that's the question of the day.
Yeah,
Uh, well, he has already taken action on the U.S. government funding. We saw the USAID.
mm,
Uh, it is influencing as much as it can as well in private foundations. I've seen this already. Whereas at the World Bank, let's say, uh, he may simply become an obstacle to any intended capital increase.
right.
Uh, or because, okay, if he doesn't want to participate in any increase of capital, he would have to, okay, abdicate of the position that it has, as I said, 16% more precisely. In the case of IBRD, it is uh, uh, shareholding 16.73%. It would have to abdicate and allow others to increase their shares. So it's either he tries to impede that if he wants to stay, but there are even those on the far right. There is the Heritage Project that you guys have heard of that alludes to the possibility or the option of the US of leaving the bank.
Yeah.
Hmm.
uh, so it doesn't look good in that regard. To the least, a repeat of the demand that China uh, upgrades. China cease to be a client country, which in practice would make all countries that can be classified as above the income level considered as the threshold for graduation to follow suit. That includes Brazil and other countries. This needs to be clients.
Mm.
That's, let's say, the minimum precondition that most likely Mr. Trump will establish.
So the worst case scenario could be the complete
Uh,
downfall of the World Bank.
yes, yeah, so,
Wow.
to leave the bank.
Mhm. And how do you think? So right now he's applying a very big tariff policy, and some might say that's an economic decision. Some might say it's a negotiation tactic, but it's for sure sending a message, of almost American isolationism and America first.
Yes.
How do you think this policy is gonna affect the World Bank and yeah, and what
Now,
do you think of Trump's tariffs?
now see, yeah, there are these two possible motivations, or one of them as a negotiating instrument. Uh, he did so in his first mandate against Mexico, obliging Mexico to hold the flows of people coming from south in their southern border in Mexico, and then the tariffs were not implemented. And to some extent, for the time being, he used this way now with Canada and Mexico. Oh, I establish a tariff and they will prevail if you do not do something regarding the flows of the drug and or flows of people, and then Mexico and Canada pledged, and he has, and then symbolically, Trump suspended the tariff. So that's for a negotiating purpose. But it's also true that the tariffs implemented in China, okay, in the first mandate, in his first government, there was some negotiation, even a phase one of a pact was discussed and signed to be seen. Uh, it's true as well that instead of the 60% on China that he pledged during the campaign, ended up bringing it to 10%. Uh, but today, he may, I haven't seen it yet, but he was scheduled to announce tariffs on steel and aluminum products on everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are even some of the members, the first method or the first motivation, tariffs as a negotiating tool, a threat to obtain what he wants. That's the view expressed by the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. But there are some guys in the government, Peter Navarro, as well as the guys who are leading the USTR and so on, who have a more mercantilistic approach to, these guys want tariffs to reduce the trade deficit, to reduce the current deficit, because they think that those current deficits presented by the U.S. economy are bad for the U.S. economy. They mean less product than what it could have, particularly in manufacturing and so on. To the extent that this view is prevalent, then we might see tariffs for the sake of protection. We don't know so far. Let's see how it's going to be in the case of the Western Europe, because Trump will announce the best guess is that he's going to demand as reciprocity something like a higher spending on military items, as he has demanded the NATO partners to increase their outlays, and or buying more LSG from the US, things like those. To be seen if this is some sort of a negotiating instrument as it was the case, has been the case with the other ones, with the Canada and Mexico. But see, in any case, already with the uncertainty that affects investment, but also with the fact that if anywhere tariffs tends to become higher, among other reasons because the other countries will also retaliate, an eventual trade war will be will damage everyone. In the short term, the U.S. may feel less of the pain, and the rest of the world will feel the brunt of the pain. But ultimately, in the long term, everybody loses with those trade wars. So economically speaking, Trump's tariffs are bad news for the economies, not the World Bank. The World Bank is not affected by it.